You found your way to the Winning Tactics podcast with host Adam Sinkus. Adam discusses winning tactics with small business owners and entrepreneurs, uncovering processes and introducing the tools and solutions for enhancing the bottom line. Thanks again for finding your way to the Winning Tactics podcast, and now your host, Adam Sinkus.
What is going on LinkedIn, Facebook? I am excited to have my guest today, friend and funny man, Tony Fant. Tony, for those of you that don't know, is a comedian. He is a businessman, and he is all around a genuine entrepreneur. Today, we're going to be running down, Tony put on a special called I Am Tony Fant. I'll let him tell you a little bit more about that. But we're going to be running down the business side of what he did to really build that opportunity. So a little bit different take on where we normally go with the show, but I think it's going to be something that's going to be really awesome and really exciting. So Tony, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Appreciate your time. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So what's up, Adam? Thanks for having me on your show. It's a real honor to be on this. This is a nice little platform you guys set up. I want to say I got into the comedy game around 2014, and then I didn't really start thinking production stuff until around 2016. I know I wanted to perform in front of rooms, but one of my friends was like, "Man, you're pretty talented. You should check out like theaters or like auditoriums." So while I was at Michigan State, I was able to check out the auditorium that they had up there. It's called the Kellogg Center. Seats about 300 people. So that was probably the first time I actually dabbled in the business side of comedy, where I started making contact with different venues. Normally, I'm just the talent. I just show up at a certain time. I go on at whatever time they tell me to go on. So those are usually like bars or like a club. But now I just do theaters. So my productions are at like theaters now. So the first step was contacting the venue. So I had one of my close friends, Muhammad. He sent me an entire list full of theaters, their websites, and like a picture of them and how much they cost. Because I know it's crazy how it's all coming full circle. But it's like I went to college for media and information. So we took producing classes. So to see what I learned in the classroom be right in front of me in real life, I was like, oh, wow, it was like an aha moment. I'm like, wow, I really thought college was like a sham. Sometimes I'd be like, college is weird, but to each his own. But I really felt like I'm really now diving into why I went to college. So I was able to, I had my professor that I reached out to named Lisa, what's her last name? Lisa Watson or Winnington. I can't remember Lisa's last name. Sorry, Lisa. But she sent me the class workbook, like a production book, like all the stuff we should be doing. Like we should be location scouting. So I had to actually go to these actual like venues that Muhammad sent me to see them for my own eyes, because I got to be able to see the imagination, see if it's going to be sweet. So after we layered them down into like that list, I was going off pricing. So like what she taught me in class is, you got to have a budget. Like, how much money am I working with? Now, for my productions, I've done 4. I've always funded my own productions. I want to get to the point where I can have more sponsors. I think since I've been doing this, I only had 3 sponsors, and they've been friends, who will throw money and like with their business will put money behind it. So stuff like that. But I eventually want to get to the point where I can have sponsors that can help me put on the show. But right now it's cool kind of producing my own show with my own money because it's my vision. So once you get realize how much money you're working with, then you can kind of budget out, how am I going to pay my staff? How much is the venue how much are they charging? So like the 2 venues I had were totally different. The most previous one, I had to book the room for 4 hours. So they have the putting stuff together hour, and then they have the breakdown hour. And then I have to also help with like the pay of the volunteers that they give.
Mm-hmm.
right? So that comes all in the contract. They really gave me a whole contract, which was like, I don't normally deal with that because, I was so new to it. So to have that and to have it under my business name, and that was a government ran building. So I didn't really touch the cash right after the performance. It took me like, I think 2 or 3 weeks to really get that cash back after it went through their system. So that was different compared to like the other venue that I went to while I was in college, the Kellogg. I just signed one sheet of paper for the contract. I, I I got like one or two people to help me, and that was like with the audio. I didn't really get much help from that venue, and it seated less people. There wasn't. It was okay for what it was, if that makes sense. Like for starting off,
Yep.
but as like promotions go on, like their lighting was, it was either on or off. There wasn't no real lighting in there. It wasn't suited
Mm-hmm.
for any type of entertainment. It was suited for lectures. So
Okay.
that's something else I have to realize. Like when I shoot these productions, how does it going to look for the audience? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
their experience. Like while I may be either on stage performing or the one that's planning out the show's like time schedule, that's cool, and I love doing that. But these people don't buy tickets for that. They buy
Yep.
tickets to be entertained.
Yeah.
And
No, I
it's
think
like, what
that's.
can this theater help me bring to that experience for the customer? And I know that back then when I was in college, that was cool because that was the biggest theater that they could offer me. It was only $500, $500 for 2 hours. That's clutch. As a college
Mm-hmm.
student, I just happened to work a couple of weeks and got it together. But this last venue I did, they're $1,200. They were $1,200 for 4 hours. So,
Yeah.
fresh out of college, it was a little different having to really stack my money up for that there. And I really like how they included me. I like to partner with people who can see themselves in the vision that I have. So I try to
Mm-hmm.
articulate myself like, yo, I'm a comedian, I'm a producer, and I want the show to look like this. That venue partnered me with a sound guy named Phil Garcia. And then the coordinator, his name is Joe. Joe was my point of contact. So that's another great thing is being like a person like myself as a producer. You have to have some type of point of contact, somebody to be that middle ground, somebody to be there to answer your questions. I'm all for transparency and yo, this don't make sense. Explain this for me. I don't know what that word means. Explain that to me. Like I don't like feeling dumb or I don't like feeling like they're not listening. Right? I don't like feel like I might be wasting my time or my money. As I get older, I realize time is very crucial. And I know that they have their own, like I'm just a client to them. It's their
Mm-hmm.
venue. So they have their time and I have my time. So it's like when I go into meetings with them, they give me their full divided attention. That is so awesome because money is involved. Like as a child growing up, especially in school, we didn't really um, go over business deals. We didn't go over like body language. We didn't go over the importance of when I give you money, this is what I'm expecting out of it. So that come through trial and error. So I did 3 events with the venue on MSU campus, and I did just this one, and it was at 2018. And then I got 7 events coming up with that same venue, 7 events coming up. And then when you start to partner with these people and build relationships, I was able to get, like I told you, that show was 1,200. But since I'm doing so many shows, I was able to get the price pulled down for the venue. So instead of it being 1,200, it was 968.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
it was cheaper on the pockets. So if that
Yep.
makes sense, and they're able to negotiate with you how they're going to get their earnings, especially if they see like how your sales do, as well as it's like they help social media pool. They will, one of the biggest reasons I chose this venue is because of the support that they offered me. There were other venues that were sweet too, a lot of seats, but they weren't supportive. So I paid $5,000 to have a venue in Detroit, but I got to get my own sound guy, my own lighting guy. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
anybody. I don't have any ushers. You know what I'm saying? I got to pay for the drinks at the bar. So it's like, why am I giving them $5,000 for me to do all the work
Yeah.
when I can work with will partner with a venue that will help me make this happen? So that was another reason I chose them because of the cost as well as the support that they give me. When it comes
Yeah.
to business, that's really critical that you have support.
Yeah. I want to take a
You
step
guys say
back
something, Adam?
because. Yeah. No, I want to take a step
Adam,
back.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Audience, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up, a like in the comments. It looks like we're having some technical difficulties here. Bear with us just a moment. But what Tony's talking about here is the business side of production, and it's the business side of how we communicate with different vendors, different partners, different clients, and so that's really, really important. But bear with us just a moment as we have a few technical difficulties in getting Tony back up into the room here. Audience, we definitely want to hear what your thoughts on this are. Is there value in build? What are your thoughts on building value in in relationships in business? So. Please drop your comments. We appreciate it, and we will be back with you here in just a moment. All right. There we go. All right. Looks like we are back. He's getting all set up. Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you good now.
Yes.
So,
thank you for that right there.
Technology at its finest. It happens. No worries. But I want to take a step back because you're talking about relationships in business and in the difference between the single, I'm going to do one thing with your relationship versus let's plan out how we can work together and build a future together as a partnership. And so I think there's a lot of value there. And it sounds like that's a lesson you've learned along the way as well. So what have you done since learning that lesson to strengthen that part of the game in building your business?
So I'll try to make sure that I do check-ins with the people that I'm communicating with. I try to make sure that I'm clear on whatever my expectations is of them. And then I also try to ask what do they need out of me and then by when. Because I know people have real lives and families and, they have their own aspirations they want to do. So I'm all about when we meet at a certain time, let's get that done right then and there. Transparency as well as just checking on people outside of the work that we do. Just try to ask them real life questions like how is their mind, how is the family, what do they want to do after this? Like just seeing what they're up to, trying to build some type of substance between us both, something that we can relate to outside of the business that we have here and there. But I always just try to be respectable of people. Try to come to fairgrounds with the same people. Well, many different people of different topics. Just try to be a cool person, really, because everybody has their own, like stresses in the day. So sometimes I'm just here just to lean some good energy or just be somebody to talk to. I don't have to give advice, but I try to just be a down to earth person to people I talk to.
Yeah, no, it's that's great. I really appreciate the fact that you said asking about people's lives. I think that might be on your end, Tony, the sound issue, your internet connection, maybe. But basically,
so like on my end, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. We can hear you just fine. So might be on your end. Maybe check the volume on your.
I can't hear nothing from you, Adam. Let's see.
All right, bear with us. We are getting this all.
Is your mic cool? It say like I can see you talking, but I can't hear you.
Yep.
Hello. Yeah, and then my settings still set.
Yep, you're still good. So.
I can't hear you no more.
All right. I apologize, y'all. We are having wonderful technology issues, but It happens.
It's up all the way.
All right, so we're going to take a quick pause here. I'm going to pull Tony off the studio, and we will be back with Tony in just a couple of minutes.
What's going on?
All right. Sorry about that, y'all. Again, technology playing at its best with everybody working at home. Sometimes we run into these internet issues. One of the things that he was talking about was building relationships. And what I think is really important, really critical that he said was that he focuses a lot on how he can help other people, as well as making sure that they are okay, that they are doing good. Asking about their personal lives, what's going on outside of the business world. That in itself goes a long way. People understand, people learn, learn about you as a person. It helps build that relationship. It helps make it easier to connect. I think we are back. All right, welcome back, Tony. I was just summing up what you were talking about with different people, with building the relationship, and really checking in on how people act and how you interact with different people, thinking about that people first mindset. So really think that is an absolutely awesome approach. It's so critical to really build relationships with business. So we will get him back here in just a moment. What's interesting, though, is that he's gone from being the performer, which is a different world, to being a producer and learning the business side of the production industry. And I've known Tony for quite a while. I actually knew Tony from before he did his 2018 special. We worked together at one point in time, and what I've always admired about Tony is he's always seeked those opportunities to grow and learn something new. And so when he first started talking about this special that he wanted to do, it really was interesting to hear how he was building the business side of the of being a producer, more so than just the straight talent. And so he's right, though. The things that you have to worry about as a producer is, am I getting value for the venue that I choose? Am I getting value for the people that I bring in to support that venue? Does the venue have support for different functionalities? And obviously, like your business, just like in his world, in your business, you need to think about these things too. If I bring in a vendor, what kind of support are they going to bring in? If I bring in a client that has specific requirements, am I going to be able to meet those requirements and put out a product that I'm going to be proud of? And so though show business and producing media is essentially a show, right? At the end of the day, we can take a lot of those cues from what he was talking about with, is the lighting right? Is the stage right? Is the customer experience right for what I want to put together? And so that's what's interesting to me is how he's built this and building a product that is focused on the customer. And so he's done that by focusing on relationships understanding what his clients want, what his customers want, which is, the butts in the seats at the end of the day. It's the people that are showing up at the show. So hopefully he'll be back up here in just a minute. He was switching devices and switching areas, so bear with us just another couple of minutes. But you can take a lot of what he's saying and apply it to your own business in putting the showmanship into your business, thinking about your customer experience. So customer experience could be anything from your website to what they view when they walk into your business, if you have physical business, to the end products that you put out from your business. All of that is a big part of the customer experience. It's not just how you interact with your customers on an individual basis. And so that's what I think, at least in conversations that I've had, is one of the things that people miss out on, is that they think that the customer experience is just how I've talked to the customers, what I've talked to the customers about, and in those face-to-face interactions. And it goes so much further beyond that. So we do have Tony back. Awesome technology.
I see this is still, it fell out the screen better on the computer. How's my quality on your end? Is it okay?
We are good to go, man. So
hey, 2012.
Yeah. So, but I was just talking about the customer experience piece of it, because I thought that was awesome that you were mentioning that at the end of the day, it's all about the customer experience. And you'd mentioned, things like, is the stage right? Is the lighting right? Is the sound right? And those are critical pieces to your customer experience, which is, the audience that comes and enjoys your shows. So I definitely think that is something that a lot of times in business we overlook, is at the end of the day, what is my true customer experience like? So
exactly. Yeah, that's real, because I know a lot of people, they see me, they think jokes, say something funny. So like jokes is a big aspect of my like the business side of comedy. But it's a lot of the stuff that's behind the scenes that even puts that stuff on display. So like what they call it, the aesthetic, when they look around, like, are people in awe of where they're at? Because if I'm somewhere, and if like this is at a bar doing comedy, there are many distractions. At a club, there can still be distractions. Yet at a theater, the distractions are, there's no distractions. And then you have everybody's undivided attention. Everybody's captive. Everybody's looking at you. They're captivated by what you're about to say. You have no disruptions. So it's no excuse not to just have fun and tell jokes, because how it's seated is suited for comedy. So that's another great thing, is when you seek out these environments, or when you go somewhere to do scouting, you have to ask those questions. And I think another piece, I was working with a young lady at the venue named Ellie, and she laid out a whole like an outline of the building, so I can see the vestibule, the lobby area, and then as well as the actual theater area, like the backstage, the actual stage. She laid it all out on a piece of paper, and she helped me. Like, she was like, we're going to walk through this. I want you to use your imagination, and how do you want to see this? So that was kind of cool, because there's no feeling like being your own boss when it's good and when it's bad. So like when it's good, it's like, man, you're feeling it, man. Like you're adrenaline. You're like, okay, I can get used to this. And then when it's bad, then that's when you have to take a lot of self-reflection and look at how did you come up short. So that's the big end, because some companies fail. And I know, like, it's a little different for the production that I'm in, because I can have a production that do bad, but that don't mean I go bankrupt. Versus people who hiring hundreds or hundreds of thousands of employees, that's a little different. Like, I freelance my workers until I get to that point where I can have a camera crew on file or a producer on file, and until it gets to that point. So you got to also learn the ins and out of what particular field you're trying to go into. You don't have to be a know-it-all when you first start with it either. You can go around and just look. And I think as I began to uncover how the business side of it works, a lot of it has to do with asking questions. Like if you don't know, write it down. It's crazy how the world works. You mess around and think a thought, and then probably if you don't get it that day, probably within a week, you're going to get some type of hint that's going to lead you to the answer that you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think you mentioned asking questions, right? And not having to be a know-it-all at the beginning. I don't think you have to be a know-it-all ever, really. You just need to be adaptable. You need to be open, and you need to be honest with people. And if as long as you are those things, you can, and a solid leader, you don't have to be an expert in everything that your business does. That's where you bring in people.
This is true.
Steve Jobs sums that one up. He says, why hire smart people and tell them what to do? Hire smart people, let the smart people do what they do, right? So I don't need to be an expert in every little minutia piece of my business. I just need to know who is the expert in that space and let them do what they do.
Yeah, it's like when I work on like my chain of command, like of course I'm the guy, but I'm also the comedian that performs, so I don't need to be approached all throughout the production. You give a chain of command or a point of contact. So who do I ask this question to? If I have an answer or a question, who do I go to? And then you put people in contact so this knowledge can be accessible to other people, so I can be free. But then it's also like while I went to school for media, like I know some of the camera stuff. I don't know all the terminology. I don't know how all this stuff works. I don't have to. I just need to know somebody who I believe can get that done for me. Where I lack, that's where they can pick up.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have to be a 100 overall, or according to like Madden. I can be weak in certain degrees, but somebody else can be good in that department. That's why you hire people who can see themselves a part of your vision and who can bring value to what you're trying to offer. Because that's another thing I learned. It's going to be a lot of people you're going to want to work with, but sometimes your paths just don't mesh, and you got to come to that soon so they can go on their way and you can go on yours. If you don't, you're going to waste both your time. So like when I was in the mix of that previous show, I had a good friend of mine. She had to drop, but I wish she would have told me earlier, but it still ended up working out for us both. So she had to just get more involved in school, and I had to find somebody else to replace her for that role. So now all the conversations we had about how the show was going to go, it's almost pointless. So now I have to invest that into somebody else. So it's all about like transparency. I can't work with you anymore. I got something else I have to do. It's something that's higher up on my priority list. That's okay. I just think people have to be honest with themselves and what they really want out of business, out of life. Because if you really don't want to do this, I really don't want you on the production squad, because you kind of taken away what somebody else could have filled in and got the most out of it.
Yeah, I want to pause there for a second, because what you're hitting on is super, super powerful leadership stuff here. You mentioned knowing where you want to go, having that vision of your life and your business, and understanding what that means, and then bringing the people in that support and represent that. That is just super, super powerful stuff. That is, in my mind, one of the most critical pieces of building an effective team is having the team that understands the vision. Knowledge is important. I love hiring smart people that I can just let them hit the ground running. But at the end of the day, I will take somebody that is a little less knowledgeable and teach them and train them, or find them the resources to teach them and train them to build, if they fit into my vision and mission down the road. And so great call out on that. I really appreciate that perspective. And I think it is a challenge when you find out down the road, after you've already built that relationship with somebody, that they're not that player that you thought that they were going to be. So, that's a challenge. How do you overcome that challenge now? Obviously, you've learned from that. So what are some things you've done now to help overcome that piece of it?
So I try to ask people real life questions like why do you want to be a part of my production? Have you seen any of my other productions? Like what did you like about it? And then when they tell me whatever their answers are, that's pretty cool. I try to gauge it. And then I try to ask, how do you see yourself in my vision? I try to say those exact words. Like my dream is this. I say the word dream because people they start to listen with their heart a little more when you say stuff like that. So I'm like, this is my dream. I want to fill this whole place out. I know you got talent with producing. I know you got talent with the camera work. How do you see yourself helping, or how do you see yourself benefiting from this experience that you're going to get? Because this is an experience. I'm paying you. You get a good show. You know what I'm saying? You get the food and drinks afterwards. This is everything you want. And the good thing is I try to let everybody, if it's a camera person or a producer, I try to let them get the film for it, like the footage, so they can put on their role. So it's like, bro, you can't lose. I'm literally, I'm helping you and you're helping me. That's the type of business I'd be into. Let's help each other. I'm never in the business to exploit anybody. I'm always in the business for, yo, you're talented. I want you on to help me. Is that something you can do? If they say yes, cool. If it's not, it's never any hard feelings because it's all about transparency. Because your priorities may be different from my priorities. Maybe you just came to shoot this quick shot and be done, get your $300 and escape. But it's all about the investment that they have. How do they see themselves getting out of it? Because at the end of the day, it's just an experience. Like the production that I have, that's not real life. You know, like real life is being with your family and friends. We're doing this for fun, but we're learning. You know, and this is something that we want to do in our professional lives. So in this experience here, what are you going to get out of it? Because I can't perceive anybody's experience for them. Only they can.
Yeah.
So it's however they perceive it, and they tell me if it ring in my ears, then I want you. Oh, bet he or she's going to get something from this experience because I can see they're invested, and it's more so. It's also with their actions too. So it's pretty cool. It's all about how people answer those questions of how I see them acting. So like when we do walkthroughs is another thing. The questions that they ask, stuff like that, because they're also a customer too, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I'm my own brand and my company is this brand. And when they partner with me or my company, they may see the name first. They're not going to know that I'm a stand-up guy or my business is solid. They're going to just see it. But for the people who work with me, they go, oh yeah, cool. And they can give my card or they can reference me in some sort. So it's another way of giving them a great experience because these are people who are going to work with me in the future. That's the goal. Because I feel like when I play football and I play with the same guys from little league to high school, there's a different chemistry there versus somebody that I might have I got with, because we kind of know each other. And the goal is overall in business, I will say, is you have to know the people around you. And I have to be like, I trust him enough to make that decision or her to make that decision when I'm not there. I know them. I trust them. You know, that's a major thing. But a lot of times I'm not one for micromanaging. I'm going to tell you what I want. You said you can do it, deliver. You know what I'm saying? And it's so easy. I'm not asking people to dig up gold. I just want you said you can do it, make it happen, Captain. You know what I'm saying? You don't lie on your resume for me. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's all I want. And then for the most part, if people drop out, like if I had challenges, I think other challenges that I might have to deal with what expectations or things I wanted people to do. What I fixed from college days to what we're doing now is all contracts. It's on the contract. So when I have people having issues promoting the event, we put it in the contract now. You want your money, you got to promote the event this many times a week. I have to proactively see it. And then after you can delete it, but I need to see that you're proactively helping me fill these seats, whether it's the talent or the staff. I get stuff like that. So I didn't at first. My first 3 shows, I did not have a contract. And because we were still going off the strength of, oh, that's my man's, or that's my homie, I can help them. But it's like, we're touching a lot of money. And then it's legally, this is like something that could go wrong. So it's about, I have to cover myself. I have to make sure you're covered. So now that we're doing contracts, we go through, I'm like, yo, if you got any questions, read it, get back to me, answer before you sign it. And then so far, it's been working out. So I think for me, and I'm still learning, like my dad and my grandma were telling me, so if I give you, let's say, Adam, I give you $300 for a role for me, I can't really just give you $300. There's no paper trail behind me giving you $300. Versus if I gave you a check, or even if I sent you something customer to customer payment, even then I still have some type of proof that I paid you. So, but that's something I learned from my last event. So like when it's time for me to do taxes for the business, it's like, I don't know, I can't really claim that because I have no proof that I paid this guy. He gives me an invoice, but I have no proof that I paid that invoice. So that's something else that I recently learned. Like I have to be able to track how all the money is moving in the business. And that's something that I never was taught, but I had to learn through experience.
Yeah.
It's a lot of trial and error in this.
That the money thing is a hard lesson that can make or break your business. And you're right, everything that you do needs to be tracked. I love that you're incorporating contracts into everything that you do, setting clear expectations. One of the things that's so important when you give people direction and not needing to micromanage them is setting that clear expectation. This is what I expect, and you said you can do what I expect. So we need to come to terms. If at delivery time you're unable to do that, one of us lied. Whether it be I didn't set clear expectations or you told me a fluff of BS that you could do something that you were incapable of doing. So I think that's an interesting, putting it down on paper is definitely, in my opinion, one of the best things you can do. And it works well in your business. It's a little bit harder, I think, sometimes when you're talking about other businesses where I'm just directing employees, that I'm not going to set a contract for every little project interaction that I have.
Yeah.
But it's the same premise of, as long as I set a clear expectation for my team, they should be able to go and do what I hired them to do.
Yeah, because at that point of expectation setting, that's when the question should arise that if something does not make sense or need a little bit of more guidance or clarity, those are the times to say it. And usually people do when it's that, but we give them the time. Like, yo, you got any questions? Anything you want to get off your mind? They be like, no, I'm good. Cool, bet. Let's make it happen then.
Yep. And along the way, if they have questions, they need to feel comfortable coming to you as their boss, as their leader, to ask those questions and get those clarifications that they need at those times. So I think that's another piece of it. And obviously we've worked together in the past, and you're a super personable and approachable guy. What are some of your tips on how you make yourself open to people and make people want to come approach you when they have issues, questions, concerns?
I try to. You got to know who you are before anybody tell you who you are. And that's personal, business, whatever you want to say. You have to know who you are. Once you kind of know who you are, then you are set. So I try to model myself on who I believe I am and just go around that. I like to tackle stuff with humor because some things are harder to comprehend or to digest without it. And I try to remember that, everybody on this planet trying, what I'm saying? Everybody got put on this planet, and we're here to, I believe every day should be paradise. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to have to die to get paradise. So I want to be whoever I come in contact with, whether I've seen you before or you're a new face, I want to have a good time with you because you're going to leave out of my awareness after a while. So while I got you in my awareness, let's have a good time. Because I don't know you. I might not know you. I might not know you well, or you might not know me. And then things could change. And then you have your own little world. You think your own thoughts. I don't know what you're thinking about or what you have going on. So while you're in my presence, I usually try to give people my attention, give people the energy that I know I can offer. Because I know we only get so much energy throughout the day before we're feeling sluggish, ready to go to sleep. So for me, I usually try to just be aware and connect to the people around me because everybody has their own lives. And I want to be the main character in my life. And I'm going to be a cast, what they call those people, a secondary actor or player two character in other people's lives, but I want to help people live their fullest lives. You know, it's a lot of, it can be dull moments in life, but that's only if you make it that way. So I'm here to usually spice it up. I just try to be I'm a people person, but I'm not a people pleaser. That makes sense. So like, I love talking to people, but I don't like conforming. I don't like to go against how I feel inside. I like to do what's right for myself and also other people.
Yeah, no, I think that's a huge, awesome call out. And it's, you know, you can be a people person and connect with people on that emotional level, but you don't have to go and make adjustments to yourself to do that all the time. You don't have to go please and simply, you know, push yourself into their space to do that. You can coexist in a space and be a people person. And that's, I think, the ultimate goal. That's what builds strong relationships in my mind.
That's real. Strong relationships will help a lot of things have longevity.
Yeah. So we are getting towards the end of time here. So Tony, first and foremost, I want to know, based on everything we've talked about today, what is your one final thought that everybody should take away from today?
Your one final thought: if you got a dream, you have to be very clear on what that dream is, and you have to start taking actual steps toward making that dream a reality. So whether that be Googling some questions to get the answers figured out, or actually going to somebody asking questions, or being in that area where you can get more of those type of level-minded thoughts to get you what you want out of a dream. And you got to just know who you are, because that's going to help get you to the life that you want to experience.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Know who you are and know where you want to go. That's how you're going to get to where you need to be. So awesome advice. Where can people find you?
So I'm on I'm on LinkedIn too, but Twitter and Instagram, my handle is T as in Tom, F as in Frank, A and T Jr. So T Fant Jr. on Twitter and Instagram. On Facebook is just my name, Tony Fant Jr. And also on LinkedIn, Tony Fant Jr. as well. And YouTube, I'm out there. So
Google search his name. You can find his comedy special, I Am Tony Fant. It is a gold mine of laughter. I've watched it a couple of times. Absolutely,
I appreciate that
every time. As always, I appreciate your time, Tony. You definitely brought us a bunch of great nuggets of information about what you've learned as you've grown your business and producing comedy shows. I think it's there's a ton of stuff that's super relatable in business. So audience, I appreciate your time as well. If you were unable to stay for the whole thing, catch the replay. It'll be on Facebook and LinkedIn, and eventually when I get caught up on YouTube as well. As always, this show doesn't put itself on. It takes time, effort, and a little bit of money. So if you would love to support the show so that I can continue offering this, patreon.com/Adam Sinkus just helps me fund the show and get great guests like Tony and some of the other wonderful guests I've had. Appreciate your time. Y'all have a wonderful day. We will see you Thursday with the wonderful Mila Deshant.